face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News,
we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
Also take your insightful comments on what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live. Hello and welcome to Today the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Dablola Mushaki and I'm with
Precious Chukudi.
And of course, we are reviewing the front pages of the papers and also analyzing it with a guest who will be joining us in the course of the program. But funny enough, on the front page this morning, we have the story about COVID-19, and it's so, should I say, it's still so funny that many people don't really believe that it's something called COVID-19, though there's a new strain of it, and that's the mutated COVID-19 pandemic, and that one actually comes with different symptoms. I think I saw a story yesterday where someone was like, the brother woke up and he woke up blind, not seeing, and they had to rush him to the hospital. And in the hospital, they told him that there's that they are not sure the amount of the percentage of his sight that will be able to gain back. But here in Nigeria, it's like we're joking about it.
Yeah, even speaking of that one, yesterday with the whole NIN registration thing going on, let's see, the turnout of people in Ikeja, it was massive. People threw caution into the wind. Nobody cared about if there was COVID-19 or whatnot. And I can tell you that with that crowd yesterday, I'm expecting that we're going to have an increase in number of cases by the end of this week, most likely.
That's if people actually go for testing, because it's people are not really turning up. But away from that, let's quickly review the front pages of the papers, and of course we'll be starting with Vanguard. And here on the front page, we have COVID-19. Nigeria moves a flight ban as 40 nations called to United Kingdom off. 200 arrested in Lagos for ignoring safety protocols. Others workers on GL12 and below to stay at home for 5 weeks. Schools to remain shut till January 18. Abuja, Lagos, Kaduna named as epicenters. Alt flight from United Kingdom over new strain of COVID-19. Article on the others says this. Federal government not prepared for campaign on COVID-19 vaccination, and that's coming from the Senate. 400 billion naira needed to vaccinate 70% of Nigeria's population. That's coming from the federal government. While FAAN says airports are fully prepared. You can see these stories on page 5. Now on the front page of the Vanguard, we have a photo story here of a large crowd as they gathered at the National Identity Management Commission NIMC office to obtain the National Identification Number, that's NIN, at Ikeja, Lagos, amid the second wave of COVID-19 yesterday. And that takes us to the story on page 8. That's a SIM registration. Federal government extend deadline for NIN by 6 weeks. Also on page 4, we have NAND passes 13.58 trillion naira budget for 2021. On page 13, no going back on Eastern Security Network. That's coming from IPOP, says as a child of necessity. Now on the stories below the nameplate on page 8, we have Kankara schoolboys. They told us to say Boko Haram kidnapped us, and that's coming from students. OAU Ife community trade words over land encroachment. And you can see that story on page 14, on page 10 rather. Now on page 14, insecurity, Zulum blaster military over fresh abductions. Senate approves a 452.2 billion naira NDDC budget. insists the federal government must constitute a board, and you can see that story on page 12. Lastly, on the front page of Vanguard on page 4, we have Christian leaders ask about the Sharibo. And of course, these stories can always be seen on the front page of Vanguard and also on our website. And from the front page of Vanguard, we move straight to the Punch newspaper.
And on the Punch newspaper, the main story says NIN confusion as Nigerians storm NIMC centers shun COVID-19 rules. The writer says subscribers accuse Lagos NIMC officials of demanding bribes. Government extends SIM linkage to NIN deadline to January. Federal government restricts religious sporting gatherings, Yuletide parties, others. We have the photo story of a cross-section of Nigerians at various registration centers, and you can see how packed up they are. The stories above, we have National Assembly jacks up budget, passes 13.5 trillion naira 2021 appropriation bill. You can see that on page 17. And on page 9, Nigeria facing worst security challenge in history, Gombe governor. On page 25, federal government ASU meets today. Ngige confidence, varsities resume January. Lastly, on the front page of the Punch, Lagos task force impounds 130 motorcycles on restricted routes. You can see that on page 4. Away from the Punch, move straight to the Nation newspaper.
Now on the front page of the Nation newspaper, we have a COVID-19 spike. Federal government slams 5-week restrictions. States FCTA to enforce rules and travel restrictions likely. And the highlights are also here, but you can get it on the Nation. And you can see that story on page 4. Also, we have lawmakers raise a budget 2021 estimate by 506 billion naira. Senate House passed 13.6 trillion naira appropriation bill. You can see that story on the front page. And lastly, on the front page of the Nation, we have Olu of Wari Obiame Ikowolu passes on, and you can see that story on page 5. And that's all we have on the front pages of the papers this morning. We'll be going on a short break, and when we return, our guests will be joining us to analyze the stories. Stay with us and we'll be right back.
Ports face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News,
we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
Also take your insightful comments on what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live. Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Mushaki, and I'm with my co-host. And joining us right now to analyze the front pages of the papers is Mr. Chris Adetayo, a communication and international relation expert. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And also, thanks for joining us. Okay, let's go straight to what we'll be discussing this morning. And we'll be starting with that of the mutated COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, it's a disease that is difficult to detect. It spreads faster, and people have been known to die of it within a very short period of its detection. And that's what some people are saying, even though the United Kingdoms are saying that it's not something that they've been able to confirm, that it's very dangerous. But still talking about it, 40 countries have banned flights from United Kingdom over the mutated strain of the COVID-19 that is manifesting there. And coming over to Nigeria right now. This is a period where students are coming into the country from schools in the United Kingdom. People outside are coming inside the country, families to celebrate the Yuletide season with their family. And this COVID-19, we're talking about it spreading, and it seems questions are really being posed to many people, like that of Minister of Information and Culture, that's Alhaji Lai Mohammed, who said that the federal government may impose a travel ban to and from certain parts of the country. But what people are really having problem with now is the May impose travel ban, because definitely 40 countries have imposed travel ban, people from coming from United Kingdom. Now, what do you think about this? Why do you think federal government is still waiting and you're still thinking about restricting people from UK from coming into the country?
Oh well, it's unfortunate we are here. COVID has really done tremendous damage to the way and manner that we all live. 2020 has been the year of the pandemic, so to speak. I can sympathize with the government's reluctance to quickly take action. The UK remains Nigeria's major entry point, where most Nigerians outside of the country probably live. And to precipitously close the borders, without preparation may be counterproductive. Many people have had plans made for several weeks and maybe even months. And so without adequate information, it may not be right to quickly close down the borders. However, given that the neighbors of the United Kingdom, several countries in the EU, Canada, and so on, have closed their borders to the UK, I think it is only right that the government takes a key from them, and quickly shut down, access to the UK into Nigeria and vice versa. The ramifications of an increased number of infection in Nigeria could be really very, very damaging. And we have no time to lose. The government has no time to waste. All it basically needs to do is notify the UK government that this is an action it needs to take. It's necessary that, in taking all these actions, we also, the government has to consider the friendly relations between both countries. And so I can understand perhaps the government doing its necessary consultations. But I would expect that with all the countries, for said countries, 40 countries shutting down their borders, that the Nigerian government will act and close the airspace to flights from the UK today.
Okay, you talked about that. Now, FAN yesterday said that they are heightened security in all its airport, especially the major international gateway, that's Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Kano. And they said they are ready for people to come in and strictly follow the COVID-19 guidelines that have been placed there. Now, people are asking questions. Do you think it's better to partially close the airport or close it fully, like what people are demanding and what other countries have done?
I think that right now we already know where the major hotspots for the new strain that is spreading. We know where the hotspot is, and there's no point in beating about the bush. We should close completely our airports to flights from those countries. The UK is one. We already know the UK has, it's already well confirmed. There's no need to waste or no time to waste. There's no need for any partial closure. Focus on those hotspots. If it's the UK, inform the UK government. We have to do this because ultimately our priority is the Nigerian people, the safety and well-being of the Nigerian people. And so we're going to have to close our airports to flights coming from the UK, and we're also going to deny, flights from Nigeria to the UK. It's as simple as that. There's really no, partial closure basically doesn't achieve anything. And if we recollect correctly, it was the inaction of the government way back in March that eventually led to Nigeria, witnessing a high number of infections. If the government had acted early enough in March and early April by closing the borders, we may never really have had to even have a hard closure of the economy that we had to eventually do in April because numbers of infections spiraled. And that was basically because our airports remained open and people were coming in and going out from hotspots, and they brought in the virus. And that's why we ended up with a hard stop of the economy. We cannot afford that now, given all the troubles that the country faces and its people face daily. What we need to do is simple. We already know where the hotspot is. Close access to those countries, and let's all move on. Let's move on.
Okay, February, before the COVID-19 pandemic entered Nigeria, Nigerians were the ones calling that the federal government should shut down the airspace. And right now, it seems that Nigerians are not even bothered about this second wave of COVID-19. 200 in Lagos, over 200 persons were paraded at the state police command headquarters, Ikeja, for not wearing their face masks. They were arrested and paraded. Now, arresting them and parading them this form, do you think it's the right way, to enforce people to wear these face masks?
The bit about parading and enforcement it's coming a little late in the day. Over the past 3 months, everybody dropped their guard. People basically went about their normal lives, without wearing masks. Social events returned. You struggle to see 1 out of 10 persons, wearing masks in Lagos and other parts of the country. Indeed, if you travel outside of Lagos, the majority do not even know, much less take action on COVID. I can understand that the government thinks that, strong arm tactics are now necessary to enforce the guidelines that it has set. But really, if the government hadn't dropped its guard over the last 2 months, we won't need to have to be enforcing, because if we had maintained the same level of advocacy that we had in April, May, in the middle part of the year, when awareness was really strong and people really obeyed the rules, if the government had continued on that trajectory and got people to stay on course, we will not need that to be arresting people all over the country, for not following the rules. I hope that in the next few days, the level of awareness grows, that really COVID is truly back, and that we need to go back to social distancing and maintaining and obeying the guidelines that the government has set.
All right, let's look at the NIN registration. And yesterday, the federal government extended the synchronization of the SIM cards with the national identity number to January and February 2021 for different categories of subscribers. Looking at the turnout of people for this NIN registration yesterday, should the time not be extended longer? Also, we saw how people clustered together, in various centers in a time where we're talking about COVID-19, second phase of the COVID-19 pandemic. What are your thoughts on this?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay. Again, if you recall, we had this conversation at a review. At one of the press reviews we had a week ago, and I talked about how the requirement to register millions of people over a 2-week period just doesn't, quote and unquote. And apologies to the government for saying this makes sense. The extension was inevitable. There's just no way that we could possibly have registered over 20 million people in 2 weeks. It was just not going to happen. Our pedigree in the area of organization does not speak to it. I welcome the extension, but I'll also advise the government to look beyond, January and February extension. The most important thing for me from the NIN registration, all the data that is required for the NIN, they are already available in multiple other data sources. They are available with BVN. All the SIM registrations have also actually captured all the data required for NIN. What the government should be focusing on is how to cause an effective handshake between all these data points that we have across the country. Speaking for myself, I know that I have been data captured and my biometrics taken for BVN, for my international passport, for my driving license, for my for even my bank. So really, what info is new that we need to now cause a stampede, and potentially cause the spread of COVID in these difficult times. I think that the government basically should say we're giving people minimum of 6 months. Go get yourself registered. provide more time and more leeway and more ways. And secondly, find a way, and I'm pretty sure that our IT experts can find effective ways to link all the various data points that we have for individuals in this country, so that we do not consistently have to drag people to offices to have, their data captured.
All right. The question I would like to ask is, why is it that it's always so hard for us with the data capturing and biometrics verification? The same thing happened for when they told people to go get their BVN. We saw how the banks were even crowded, and this was not even the time of COVID-19. Different stampedes in different places because people were trying to rush to get their biometric verification and whatnot, and it keeps happening every time. Is there no way that these things can be done so that in the comfort of your homes or wherever you are, you can get this accessible? For example, yesterday the NIMC's website crashed yesterday because various people were trying so hard to see if they could register online, and that has become a challenge year in, year out. What exactly do you think can be done?
Well, the solution, first of all, we must do away with the bureaucratic bottlenecks that we create for ourselves in this country. What is clear to me is that many of our bureaucratic organizations act in silos, meaning that in effect they act alone, not in partnership with other MDAs across the country. So invariably, the immigration wants its own data, the police wants its own data, the NIMC wants its own data, the central bank wants its own data, the FRSC wants its own data. There's no reason to have all of this. All we basically need is one data management office in the country, capture the data for every individual, and provide links. And this is pretty much easy for IT experts to do. Provide links to all the relevant agencies of government who require them. There's no needing to have different data centers across the country, owned by MDAs. Secondly, our level of organization and management needs to get better. For instance, it's shocking that last week several agencies of government met, and without any previous notification whatsoever, slammed a 2-week deadline on the citizens of the country to go get themselves registered on NIN, to link their NIN to SIM cards. No previous information. That's a recipe for disaster. Number one, was the government even ready for this? As we saw yesterday in Lagos, they weren't. There was nothing on ground to cause them to be ready for the deluge of people who were going to rush in to try and get themselves registered. The website crashed principally for the same reason. And that comes down to the level of organization and planning that we do. Ideally, even if the government decides that we need to link SIM cards with NIN, there needs to be a leeway for two things to happen. One, for the agency required to do this to be ready for the number of people that were going to step forward. And secondly, to give people enough time to prepare. None of that happened. And that's the reason why we've ended up with a situation now where the government is forced to extend the time to do this.
Okay, away from that now, let's talk about Kankara boys, like what we've been calling them. So one of the 344 students from the government science secondary school at Kankara, Katsina State, has stated that they were not kidnapped by the Boko Haram terrorist group, as earlier claimed by the group. He said that they were told by the kidnappers to say they were kidnapped by Boko Haram. I would like to ask you, what do you think about, this statement coming from this boy?
It's on one hand, it's troubling because it speaks to what now seems to be like a franchise existing, a Boko Haram franchise of some sort, developing out of the security challenges we have in the north of the country. On the other hand, it also speaks to perhaps as a credit to the government, that it's starting to win. It's starting to win, in some aspects, the battle against Boko Haram. If Boko Haram can now resort to trying to lay claims to actions that it clearly had no hand in, then one has to wonder whether Boko Haram itself is even, in a strong position now to act, to cause as much damage as it did in the past. However, ultimately, the problem we see face isn't running away, and that's the problem of securing lives and property across the country, and especially in the north. And that's one that the government cannot relent in its efforts. It must win, first of all, the battle for the minds of the people. It must act and be seen to act in such a way that gives confidence to the people, across the country, that it is on top of the situation and it's doing all it can to secure lives and property. And secondly, it must continue to take the battle against the bandits and on one hand and Boko Haram on the other. Both are causing us serious damage, and they are battles that we urgently need to win so that we can bring some level of peace to the people affected in the hotspots.
Okay, you talked about Boko Haram having a different franchise, and let's not forget about jihadists. Some years ago when they moved out of Boko Haram, and we also have some other groups that they said they've been linked to Boko Haram. That some bandits having connections to Boko Haram. But let's talk about what this boy said, and I'll quote him. When he was asked to say what he experienced, he said in quotes, sincerely, from what I experienced, sincerely, they are not Boko Haram. Now, he said from what he experienced, they are not Boko Haram. And that is what is putting confusion in the minds of Nigerians. That how did you know they are not Boko Haram? I mean, these people came out to say, they were the ones, they were the ones that kidnapped the boys. And let's not forget that when the boy talked, then in the video, he said, they called on the part of what they said they wanted was that they should disband local vigilante group, withdraw troops, and cancel formal education in the states. And this is costly. Formal education is part of what people believe to be Boko Haram's objective. Now, him saying this now that from what he experienced, it's not Boko Haram, and the former video that was sent, don't you think there's a missing link here?
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, I'm surprised actually that somehow or the other, our authorities have not gotten hold of these boys and get them fully debriefed, because those boys, those children kidnapped and now released, are a major source of intelligence, that we direly need about these troubling groups that we are facing and all that. And if the government has not fully engage them, and here I'm talking about the intelligence authorities, to get the required information from these children, then we are missing a major trick in our battle to win the war against the bandits. Now, the reality for anyone who knows the North is that for many across the North, Western education is not necessarily a well accepted educational platform. Boko Haram made it an international issue, a very big national issue. But I give you an example. I had my secondary school in the North, so I'm pretty well aware of some of the underlying challenges, an opinion held by many Northerners about Western education. So it doesn't really come to me as a surprise that bandits can make an argument for the disbandment or the stoppage of Western education up north. Our challenge, our focus really should be in impressing it upon every young person out there in the north that education serves as a pathway to a better life. And that's also one that the government needs to take to all the religious leaders and get the religious leaders across both religion, really, and especially the Islamic leaders up north, to spread because we cannot afford a situation where we are growing ignorance, year on year. That would only just increase the level of insecurity that we will continue to face.
All right, in the same, still speaking about the Kankara schoolboys, some Christian leaders have asked the federal government to rescue Leah Sharibu and other girls kidnapped by Boko Haram. Because the question has been, if these boys were being rescued in no time, why is it that we have the likes of Leah Sharibu and other Chibok girls and Dapchi schoolgirls there for a number of years, and yet unable to rescue them out of captivity?
It's a fine point, and I can sympathize with the Christian Association of Nigeria making that point. We've faced these challenges over the last nearly 10 years now. Chibok, and then the subsequent kidnappings that have followed, and indeed it is the case that we've virtually forgotten that Leah Sharibu remains in captivity, as with many of the Chibok girls that were taken away in 2014. Bringing it to the table now does make a lot of sense, and I appreciate that the CAN is appealing to the government, to not forget, those children, and to continue to work to bring them back home. Ultimately, it's one responsibility that we owe to the captive children, and it's one that the government cannot afford to go to sleep on.
And the governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, he called out the military over fresh abductions going on in the state. And in his words, I quote, he says, if the military cannot secure 20 kilometers, how can they keep us with the hope that they will defeat Boko Haram? What are your thoughts on his statement? Because if you look at what's happening, after the Kankara boys, the next day we had the issue with the ISWAP. They kidnapped about 80 students. 80 students.
Yes.
They kidnapped about 80 students, and then it looks like it's becoming a reoccurrence in those areas. Because if you say that you're rescuing some boys who were kidnapped, it means that area should be safeguarded. But if something like that is happening next time, it means that people around there are no longer safe. So what are your thoughts on what the governor of Borno is saying?
I think what the governor says is extremely damning. It's basically a finger pointing at both the military authorities and the federal authorities, about the way manner they have prosecuted, the war against Boko Haram over the last 4 or 5 years. We had some relative success between 2015 and 2016, and perhaps the government went to bed. But since 2017, it's really been one loss after the other. While it is true that Boko Haram doesn't hold territory per se, they basically made life virtually impossible, for many residents of the Northeast, and indeed in other parts of the North. One of the things that has agitated my mind is whether ultimately we're not seeing the birth of something similar to the military-industrial complex that you have in the United States. In the U.S., there's a thing talk about military-industrial complex where you have an alignment of military and defense industry forces, which is one of the reasons why America always seems to be compelled to use military force in different parts of the world. And so invariably it becomes like a recurring decimal, producing arms and ammunition, for the military, which keeps the defense industries in financial nick. Perhaps the same is happening here, where in essence for a decade we have been pumping millions and millions of money that quite frankly we don't even have, to try and defeat a ragtag bunch of terrorists in Borno State and other parts of the Northeast. And yet we're still where we are, where we're basically unable to protect lives and property, where the governor basically is saying, I don't have trust in the military, to even protect, 20 kilometers of road in my state. if that is the situation, maybe we need to begin to have deeper conversations about the reasons why, Boko Haram remains a menace to the lives and property of our people on the north. The president cannot run away from this. And over 5 years, again I reiterate, it is time for him to change the men who lead our military efforts. They've tried enough. It is now time for us to try new people who can bring fresh ideas that hopefully can set us on the path to winning this battle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chris Adetayo, Communications and International Relations Expert. Thanks for joining us and also sharing your thoughts with us this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, and that's all we have for you on Today in the News. You can always like and follow us on our social media platforms that are showing on your screen, or visit our website www.vanguardnigeria.com to get more of our top stories. I think I've just been reminded that we need to look at what Mr. and Mrs. are saying this morning. And the first person talking this morning is Mrs. She says, I can't still believe that I married a man old enough to be my father. Meanwhile, Mr. replied, well, it's not, if it's true that husband and wife are soulmates, then we are mates.
Of course, you know how people just say age is just a number. You just find that special person that you're in love with. And I mean, take the likes of Ned Boko
and Regina Daniels,
Never can tell.
That's just a great example of what this is saying. And like I said, you can always follow us on our social media platforms that are showing on your screen. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget that we have more programs coming up, so you can always tune in or stay glued to your gadgets to get more of what we are bringing to you. But from Today in the News, it's bye from me, Damnola Okunshaki, and also from
Precious Chukudi. Thank you for watching.
Have a lovely day.
Face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News, we
read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
Also take your insightful comments of what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live.